Alrighty everyone, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're continuing on with the rebuild of the RMX250. Before we get into it though, I have a rather interesting thing to show you just now, and I believe you might like it. So my little interesting fact for today is going to be a little bit of problem solving. So you will, or if you've been watching since part one, you will recall that I didn't initially, me and my father didn't initially know exactly why the bike had no compression. We were 80% sure that it was probably going to be the rings worn, because it is a two-stroke and it's pretty common for a two-stroke to have worn out rings. We'll speak about that a little bit later, but we thought it was going to be rings, and I did pull it apart, as you can see, and we have found an answer to our question. So the rings are indeed the culprit, and I'll show you why. So I have a ring installed in the spore here. This is our bottom ring, and it has what's called an end gap. So if you look in here, that little gap between the two little notches right there and right there, the ones that are contacting the bore, that is your ring end gap when installed in the cylinder or the bore, whichever one you want to call it. Now, manuals, which I have the manual here, will usually give you a specification for like service limits and stuff like that, especially in rings. Like this one here, we have two lots of service specifications on it. So we have the new rings, we have our end gap here. Now, because this is a 1998, we go straight down here, and as you can see, we don't have the free gap for the 1998. So we'll just go straight to installed in cylinder, because that's what we've got. Now, if we come across, you can see that the new rings, when fitted in the bore, are supposed to be 0.2 to 0.4 millimeters for end gap. Obviously, these are used rings, so we're not going to worry about that figure. We'll move straight over to this 0.85 here. So this is the service limit. So I take that as being the maximum limit for ring gap before you have to replace it. So if you know anything about rings, as rings go up and down the bore, obviously on the piston, metal on metal, it'll be wearing slowly. Because it's got the oil film though, it wears a little bit slower, but it still wears. All right, and as it wears, obviously your piston ring, the piston ring gets thinner, and as it gets thinner, it starts to expand in the bore, and the end gap gradually becomes bigger. Now, going back to this service limit, if we go anywhere over that service limit, these rings are regarded as no longer serviceable, and they have to be replaced. Now, if we take a good gander at this top ring here, we're going to put a 0.864 feeler gauge in it, as that's the only one I currently have. That's closest to 0.85, and obviously it's a little bit over, so that we know we're getting a good enough reading. But if we look in here, it's probably going to be a bit hard to see. As you can see, that feeler gauge is right smack bang up against the back of the bore, and that's our gap. That's no bueno. So yeah, as you can see, that ring has way too much gap in it, more than what it needs to have. And if I take this top ring, this one's got a little bit less gap in it, but it's exactly the same, it's worn out. If I choose our piston crown again to center it up, there we go. I'll go down a bit, sorry. There we go. We use our feeler gauge again to look in here. You'll see that the feeler gauge also goes straight through there. So both these rings need to be replaced as they're above the max service limit. And judging by this one, this bottom one, which most likely has probably 2 or 3 millimeters of gap when fitted in the bore, that's probably why we've got no compression. So yeah. I have ordered a new piston kit for it, so we've got a wasn't a piston coming. It's got piston, gudgeon pin, the two rings, the two split rings or circlips, whatever you call it, and then our two piston rings as well. So we'll fit them in when they come in. But before then, I want to get this exhaust valve pulled apart, which sits in this little casing here, and I want to decarbon it. Alright everyone, so it would appear that we've run into a bit of a problem, quite a big one actually. So we have this shaft here, if I can get the bugger apart, which is broken. That's just fell out when I pulled that cover off. And a valve here which appears to be seized, which is not very good. So from what I can see is this whole valve assembly has just broken clean off, which is not very good, as you would imagine. So what it is supposed to do is it's supposed to, when the bike is going, it's supposed to come out, or come out a little bit. Judging by the marks on the top of this piston, got one there, and we got one there. I am anticipating that we may have had some form of piston to valve contact, unfortunately, because it does not look as though this valve assembly is exactly in the best order. Alright everyone, so we might have to put an end to the video there. So we have a heap more broken parts. As you can see, we've got a broken over-tightened spring. This part here, which is supposed to hold your valves in, which is in here, it's broken off. I think that's about it for now, other than the valve, which is also broken and seized in its little housing. But yeah, other than that, I think that's all needs to be replaced in the valve region. Until we get the parts, we can't really go any further. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for part 3. Alright everyone, so just a little update on the video. You may recall we did have a bit of problem with our valves. Fortunately though, we have had a light at the end of the tunnel, and our piston kit has arrived. So it is a Wasner, genuine Wasner, so it's a pretty reliable, well not reliable, reputable, well it is reliable, reputable brand. And we did get a B, which is the 66.95mm, which is basically 0.01 millimeters bigger than the original factory size. The reason I got this was because obviously our bike's probably got more than 100 hours on it. It's got 7,000 Ks I think, which is probably well over 100 hours worth of driving. But yeah, it's probably a little bit worn out, so I went with the size up for the piston, just so it fits a little bit more snug and we don't have as much slop. We've also got part of the pack, which is the rings. Yeah, so we'll have to check all of our gaps up with these installed in the ball like we did the old ones. But yeah, it should go alright. At least we got them. They're the main part of the whole kit. We've also got our wrist pin or gudgeon pin, whatever you call it, C-clips that fit in the little grooves of these pistons and hold that gudgeon pin from sliding around. We also have our new gudgeon pin or wrist pin, whatever you call it. So yeah, fully kitted out kit. Should go in alright, hopefully. Yeah. We also have not had any luck with the valves as of yet. I did spray some penetrating lubricant in them off camera yesterday, try and clean them up a bit and try and at least loosen them, because they are seized in the ball, but I haven't had any luck yet, so hopefully it'll come free. And yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're able to get new valves for it, or if we can, they're very expensive. They're like upwards of $600, which to me is a bit of a money grab. So yeah, my dad reckons we just try and TIG weld the ends up, because where the little links go on, he reckons that we just chuck a couple of TIG spot welds in there and see if that works, which it might not. I mean, we're not flogging the crap out of it. It's only going to be a farm banger. But yeah, it's not like we're flogging the crap out of it, and it's going to be used for racing or daily riding. But yeah, it's only trying to get it going. But yeah, anywho, thanks for watching, everyone. This is the formal end of the video. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.